I didn't hear a knocking. You know what I hear though is ice cubes jingling in a glass. I open the door. Hey, Korey Dropkin, come on in, man. How you doing? Congratulations on winning your national championship. What a huge day for you. Am I right? Are you having a little? What are you having?
Just a little bourbon, Jim.
Nice, nice. Uh, Boy, in my day, Korey, we could have hung out together. Way to go, man. Well done. I know we were just talking quick off air. I know there's Kevin had referred to the big shot, and we'll get to that. For us Canadians, Korey, first of all, explain. You fully well know that there's the provincial playdowns are on right now. There's a couple more teams that have been determined for the Brier. How does it work, Korey, in the States? How do you get there? What's the path?
Yeah, yeah. Well, also, guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. The path to World Championships for a U.S. team is just straight up winning the national championships. We have had points be a bit more of a factor in the past, but most recently and for a long time before that too, the national champion goes and represents at Worlds, and the same thing for Olympics and the Olympic trials.
Right. No, I understand that. What I was more referring to is ours are from each province. How does it work in the States? I mean, it's not 50.
Oh,
played.
yeah. Sorry.
How do you? Is it regions? Are there restrictions? Do guys have to live in a certain area? How does that all work to get to the
No,
national final?
yeah, there's no real restrictions in terms of regions and where you're from, where you're living. Back in my junior days, there used to be your regional playdowns. But most recently, I think like 10 years ago, they started maybe a little bit less than that. They started just having certain events being qualifiers, and points adding up and accumulating to being able to qualify for your national championships, whether it's the junior nationals or the men's and women's and mixed doubles national championships. So for men's and women's national championships, it was strictly points based, and then there were some tournament qualifiers. Essentially, you did if you qualify and go deep in a tournament, then that kind of like earned your berth into a national championship.
Cool. Well, what's the format of the national championship? How many teams get there, and how do you determine the winner?
Yeah, this year there was 8 women's and 8 men's teams. So you do a full round robin and then a page playoff. So you get your 3-4 playing, your 1-2 playing, and then the semi, and then your final.
And how'd you do? Give us your breakdown. Where'd you end up in the page?
We ended up in the 1-2 game. So we finished the round robin tied for second, but we had the head-to-head win over Schuster. So that put them in the 3-4 and us in the 1-2 against Casper. We lost the 1-2 game against Danny, and thankfully we were able to pull out that semifinal game against John. And then had just a great battle for a championship final game against Danny's team, and we're the lucky ones to come out on top.
Way to go, man. Way to go. Kev, go ahead, man.
Hey, congratulations. Awesome intern raise pick. Talk about it. That was, I'm sure everybody has seen it. That thing was everywhere across all social media platforms. But anyway, what a shot. One of the best shots you'll ever going to see to win a championship, Korey.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, honestly, just grateful to have a shot and the stone in my hands. But going into that, I mean, Danny, those guys made a perfect freeze. I mean, if it curls up another inch or two and it's dead frozen, who knows if we have a shot? Maybe just make a triple and blank. They definitely give us a little bit of an opportunity there to play that run pick for the score. But being in the hack, just trying to take an extra few breaths and just get my heart rate down and focus on doing what I needed to do to throw a good rock in that moment. But I'll be honest, Kev, we were halfway down the sheet. We were thinking we were just fine, and then started curling on us, and we're screaming our lungs out, hoping that it stays straight. And when the stone made contact, I'll tell you, I actually thought we missed it. And it was a blessing to see their stone go sideways off the pin. All the emotions after that one.
Not exactly a shot you practice every day, probably. Yeah, throw up that run pick we do all day in practice.
When I was watching it, Korey, so the first thing you said is, "Whoa, okay, all right, that's reasonable. Pretty good chance of scoring then, or at least a blank."
Yeah,
so okay. But then, to your point about a little short of halfway, it was hard. And then by the hog line, it's like high octave hard. And I'm going, oh, shit. But man, oh, man, the sweepers held that really good. Like, if you watch it I don't know if you had a chance to even watch it over again. I don't think I moved any the last 20 feet. Your sweepers held that sucker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Andrew held that thing straight as can be when we needed him to. It was a huge sweep. And I can only imagine being Cooch in that situation, just hoping, praying, because he's on the wide side, right? So he's not sweeping, and then I don't know, man, just makes contact and goes sideways off the pin. Tom makes the joke afterwards that it was almost like it breezed by and the breeze just blew the rock sideways. But yeah, all the emotions kicked in, and that moment that I think all of us have dreamed about and been waiting so long for, of being able to celebrate together on a big shot to win a game in a big situation, just kicked in, and I've watched it so many times. I think we all have, and I personally I've had a hard time, not letting some tears out when you see something like that over again.
Mm-hmm. So you're off to the Worlds.
We are.
That's cool. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, come to Canada, but the idea of going and battling in the World Championship.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We know that we have lots to practice and sharpen our game up, but we're looking forward to it. I've heard a lot about the crowds and Moose Jaw, and I think it's going to be a special week. But we don't take it lightly by any means, because there's Olympic qualifying points on the line. So we got to do our job for the U.S. And so that's our plan. That's our hope.
So what is the job for the U.S.? What is there a goal obviously your goal is to be on the top of the podium like you did in Korea with Korey. But what's the, I guess, goal for the U.S.?
I think the goal, I'd say, step number one would be to qualify for playoffs. I think that would certainly secure our Olympic spot for the U.S. Getting top 6.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a team, we want to see ourselves on the podium and on the top of the podium. But there's so many good teams in the world. Everyone's stepping up right now. There's no light game out there. So it's going to be a crazy fun week and a battle, a grind, 13-team round robin. That's a tough week. But yeah, I think that's step number one would be just, play great curling and have fun, but, get into the playoffs.
Hey, Warren, go ahead.
Yeah, let's just stay on that topic for a minute, because a lot of people don't realize, and this is for Canada as well, that there's Olympic qualification on the line here with the men's, women's worlds and mixed doubles worlds for everybody this year. And I think after last year, and it's for the 2-year period, it's points from 2024 and 2025. You're sitting currently in 6th spot, I believe. So you guys got to probably get into the qualifying round to be assured of the Olympic berth. Does that put a little added pressure on? I know, like in Canada with mixed doubles, and you're going to have the same thing, that the team that's now going to represent Canada, if they go to the Olympics, is the same team that's going to go to Fredericton and play in the World. So they're going to have the opportunity to win their own right in the Olympics. Do you think it would be better if you were already the team going to potentially the Olympics and you could play your own right in, or do you think it's better the way it is, or does it matter?
Warren, that's a great question. It's an interesting question too, because we have it both ways in the U.S. right now with men's and women's, our national champions representing this world championship to win our spots, and then mixed doubles. We have our national championship in 2 weeks, which is also our Olympic trials, to send that team to go win our spot into the Olympics. So we have it both ways right now, just kind of depending on the discipline. I don't know if I have a preference. I think in mixed doubles, I think that's great for the team that wins the trials, is to have that year at the World Championships, that experience, the added pressure, and experience of it all, and to be able to win their way into the Olympics. I think that's awesome for that team. Whoever comes out in 2 weeks. For men's and women's, I understand, especially just for schedule's sake. It's so tough to have two different trials championships back to back before February in the beginning of the season. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong there. However,
I suppose it puts a little extra on your back, though, knowing that you are there. It might not be you going to the Olympics, but you got to be the person that earns the spot. So it must be, I suppose, in the back of your head, isn't it?
I think anytime you put, the phrase Olympics kind of in the back of your mind, or in contention with what you're playing for here, there's some added pressures. I think it's really just on the players and the support group behind us to try to keep that out of our minds, because that doesn't really necessarily help you play. Truly when you're out on the ice, you just want to focus on making shots. And that's what we've done a pretty darn good job doing mentally, is when we're out on the ice, we're just trying to take care of business and make shots and do what we do. That was a big thing for us, is we played in, so many finals now that we've lost. And I think getting ourselves mentally prepared and going through all of those losses and trying to take the pieces, the bits and pieces that you learn from those losses, so that the next time you can try to capitalize and actually win that game. Like, I think we were really well composed that game, even though we were down against the Annie's team. We never really lost our composure, and we stayed patient for our opportunities. Because odds were against us 100%.
Let's talk about your opponent there, Danny Casper. You think he's, 22 years old? 23 maybe? And so you're kind of, your top teams in the U.S. now are kind of tiered. You've got Schuster, those are the old guys, and your team are kind of the guys in the middle, and then you got the young bucks coming up in the way of Casper, who are a very good team, as you mentioned earlier. Any other younger teams in the shadows there that you can say that you would be concerned about today? Anybody coming up?
Absolutely. We got some great young curlers. That Samson team, they really put up a big fight. I know they were trying to figure out a little bit earlier on in the week at Nationals, but their last 4 to 5 games, they played so darn good. They have had a great season too. Caden Abear, I'd keep an eye out on him. He just won the silver medal at the World University Games. So he's got a great future. Those guys are definitely, going to be a team to look out for in the future. So we got some juniors below that too, who are, continuing to progress and work really hard. So it's pretty exciting to see what we have coming up in USA curling.
So I understand you had some ice conditions that were a little challenging, particularly at the start of the event. What happened there?
Yeah, it was definitely challenging ice. On all the sheets, it was a bit slanted, so it was uphill going away in the odd ends and downhill coming home in the evens. And I'd say, the worst sheets were 20 to 30 foot difference.
What?
Wow.
Whoa, time out. 20 to 30 feet difference of weight? Like one way from the other?
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, well, hang on. So I did not know that. So
you woke up Martin there.
So coming home in the sixth end, what's your hog to hog to the button? Coming
in the
home.
6, then probably a 15. Wait, are you talking? So
Coming home. So the
throughout
Keene way.
week, I'd say 15 to 15.5.
Okay. And then going uphill the other way in the 5th, say.
I'd say 13.5.
Wow. Gee whiz.
Now, hog to hog time wise, it wouldn't necessarily shout 20 to 30 foot difference. But if you think about split time differences, like for me, I'd be throwing away, say on sheet A or B, which A, B, and C were, I'd say sheet D, which we had the final on, was the best sheet. And that's why we had our finals on those sheets, or on that sheet. But A, B, and C were a little bit more difficult. There were some more characteristics as well beyond just the up and down hill. But A and B, I'd say it was closer to 20 to 30 feet difference. And going away, I'm probably kicking out with a 3.75, 3.8, giving a good extension. Make sure that rock's traveling nice. Coming home, kicking probably closer to a 4.3. And that's an easy, very easy extension, because if you give that thing a nice extension like you would at, like, say, like a slam, or that you would going uphill, that thing is not going to stop. It's going to go down Lake Avenue in Duluth. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the players, I mean, we were tricked so many times, and it was a mental grind to continue to refresh. Every end was like a new game, making sure you're accounting for the change, making sure you're seeing the spots, the different characteristics in the sheet. And it was probably one of the more mentally challenging weeks that I've had.
So what happened? There's been curling ice in that building before. I don't know if recently, but a long time ago, the 76 Worlds were in that building. What went wrong?
I'm not 100% sure, Warren. I do think that I know that there was a Zamboni that came through to level out basically the base layer. Now, I'm no ice tech, but what I heard was that they leveled it to the outside, like boards essentially, so that the outsides all looked like they were perfectly level. But on the inside, in the middle of the arena, that wasn't necessarily the case. And so Sean Olsen and the guys, I mean, they did a great job making it, as playable as it was. I mean, it was still good ice, and you could still make, darn near every shot in the sheet. It was still good ice, but it was challenging ice. We just saw lots of different characteristics that I don't think we would normally see, that we had normally in the past seen. The uphill downhill was definitely new, but it was a challenge, and everyone was dealing with it. And you had to stay mentally sharp, and you had to stay composed. Otherwise, you let that get into your game, and it's tough to make shots.
Let's go a little different direction here. I reached out to Korey TC after they won to congratulate her, and then we were back and forth about they're going to Korea, where you guys had great success in Korea last time you played there as mixed doubles. So, I guess thoughts on because you in just a few days I'm going to see you at the Olympic trials in mixed doubles, and you both come off huge wins. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on that? Because you just said, it's mentally overwhelming what you just went through. You're going to be going through it again shortly, but you both just won. So thoughts about all that?
Yeah, it's certainly a big confidence booster, going from a win into another event. Obviously, being mentally drained, and especially for someone like my teammate Andrew Stapera, who's also competing with Sarah Anderson in the doubles trials, and then all the other competitors who, have been at the national championships. The short turnaround. Thankfully, we have 2 weeks. It's going to be a lot of rest and recovery, just making sure we're getting what we need beforehand in this, I'd say, first like week, and just dialing things in, sharpening what we may not have been so strong in last week. But for Korey and I, especially, it was really nice to come off of a win, and especially, a win where you really got to earn it and grind it out, and be patient and mentally sharp. I think that getting that in, kind of the back pocket, just in terms of, being able to compose ourselves and stay patient in big moments like that, because Olympic trials are coming up here, and every game's going to be a big game there, and there's no easy game. All those teams are gunning for the Olympics, right?
And gunning for you guys too. You kind of got a big
and
target
gunning for us, 100%.
So you'll take a week off here mostly, and then you and Korey then will have a few days of training somewhere or in Denver or.
Yeah. I took yesterday off. I needed it yesterday. Besides curing the headache that I woke up with and so forth. But
you got a bit of the dog that bit you now in your glasses. You're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, say hello to Jim Beam. All right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. The boys celebrated properly.
Good. Yeah, good.
But I took yesterday off. Today I woke up and really started just getting refreshed and going for a run and getting some rocks in, and I probably won't take a full day off from here on out. I definitely need to keep. I'm a reps type of individual, kind of like you were, Kevin. Of course, you didn't like ever taking a day off, and I'm quite similar to that. But Kathy, our coach for mixed doubles, she's flying into Duluth on Saturday. We're gonna have a pretty training intensive Sunday and Monday, and then we'll train, together more, next week throughout the week before we fly to Denver and get real serious about the games.
Korey, the problem with having a mentor is the mentor feels a bunch of pressure to help young guys coming along. You would have had mentors, you probably still do, but now you're going to be a mentor in a flash in the blink of an eye. That you won this national championship for the second time, by the way. What are you telling the guys coming up behind you now? You're not the young guy anymore. Warren pointed that out. You're middle of the road. You're still only 29. What are you telling young guys? I really like what you said earlier. You could hear the emotion in your voice when you said, "Frick, I've been to so many finals and semis where we lost." You can't help but creep in. What are you telling kids? You've lost and you've won. How are they going to win?
Yeah, I think a lot of the young juniors and developing curlers. I think the big thing I'd say is, watch lots of curling, ask lots of questions. There's never a bad question to ask, and throw a lot of rocks. You're not going to get there without putting the reps in. But I think for any young curler, reaching out to those that you look up to is important. Like, I don't think in this curling world that we have, there's not going to be someone that won't respond to you or won't give you advice. And, putting those reps in, asking for advice, and just dreaming. Nothing's going to come easy. You're going to lose a lot, but every time you lose, you learn. And once you've learned enough, you're going to start to win.
Nothing
I like
to it. Nothing to it, right,
Nothing,
Korey?
yeah. Other than
Nothing
that.
to it.
Well said. Yeah. Well said, because there is pressure on you now for sure. Korey, we're about to continue a long-standing string on our show. Okay, it's about the 7,000th show in a row that we're going to end up talking about blank ends. Okay, and how long should a game be? And we got to put a clock on them. And what rules should be allowed? Should be 8 or 10? and the show is the string is alive and well because we got it again this week. The topic du jour, I guess, in the last week is about what did Sulsky want to do if you blank 2 in a row? No one will say it, but the elephant in the room from our 2 commentators is that's a dumb idea.
Really?
I don't think we said that.
Did you? I didn't either think we said that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you say about that? And the rules of the game, is it taking too long? Should they go to 8? I'm assuming your nationals is 10 ends.
Nationals is 10 ends.
Yep. What do you say about those 3 things? The length of the game, putting guys on the clock, how many ends the game should be, and what to do about blank ends, if anything.
Those are loaded questions.
I know.
There.
Yeah.
We could
Take a
take an
sip.
hour.
Take a sip. Think about it, and you.
Yeah.
There you go.
I feel terrible. I'm sitting with a glass of water here.
Oh yeah, come on.
That's not right.
Yeah, we could take an hour to talk about these 3 subjects here, but I don't know. To sum my opinion up, one, Sulsky, I think it's amazing what the Slam continuously does. I think, and I think testing out the double blank shift of hammer was a really cool idea. I don't know if it's the right thing moving forward or not. But that's why we test things out. It's a trial and error process to see what works and what doesn't, what players like, what the fans and audience likes, right? We want to make sure this game continues to grow. And in order to grow, you need to make it, more for TV. And TV, as beautiful of an end might be played, that results into a blank with a few triples, or a triple and a double. It's part of the game. But I think at the Slam, it was really neat to experience, the added pressures if you do blank an end. Okay, now you need to score. And what the other team's strategical, what they're doing tactically next, because they might play a little bit more defensive because they know you need to go hard. For the amount of ends, I've kind of always been a believer in 8 ends. We play 8 ends throughout the season. And then, in January, we play our first 10 end game for our national championship. Because the Worlds and Olympics are all 10 ends for a men's and women's game, of course, not mixed doubles.
Mm-hmm.
I typically favor 8 ends personally. I think that's better for TV. 10 ends really drags on a long time, even when you put into, an extra end. What I would say is that I'm a little bit extra thankful that we still have 10 ends, because that national final probably wouldn't have gone our way if we didn't have 10 ends.
Right. Right. Yeah. Right.
But that's kind of been my feelings the past few years regarding the amount of ends. Let's see, your last question. Remind me, Jim.
I was talking about putting players on the clock. Is the game itself?
Yeah.
Are the ends taking too long?
I think sometimes. Yeah. I think there's some ends that become pretty simple and pretty quick, and there's some ends that are very complex. And I think the audience really likes those more complex ends, though. Those are usually the most entertaining ends. So, I think, I think, Kevin, you're a promoter of like the, time per an end basis. I think that is a little bit tough to do because you might not get those super complex and thought out ends that some audience and viewers really, really appreciate. And some curlers like me really appreciate listening to conversations that, other elite curlers that I especially look up to, that they have, the insight that you hear and what you learn from those discussions that are had. Even thinking back to, your slam, one of those slam finals that recently passed through my Facebook, Kevin, that you won against the Furby Four. Some of those ends that were really thought out was really entertaining to listen to. And I think it's tough if you put every end on its own clock and make sure everyone speeds through them.
Okay.
Korey,
cool.
I'll tell you why I really like you right now. Your final statement here disagreed with both Warren and both Kevin. That's my boy right there, baby. That's my boy. I like, and you're going to be an ambassador of the game the way you said, Kevin, I know you like it this way, but that could prove difficult. Brilliant, my man.
Well,
Take it on the goat.
always-
I love it. Yeah.
Always controversial, I guess.
There's
Korey
different
Dropkin
ways of
is-
looking at it, Jim.
Yeah, Korey Dropkin is our guest. He is your latest national champion for the U.S. Way to go, Korey. I know you must be just over the moon about it, and you're going to bring lots of great things to the game down the road. Good luck the rest of the year, and thanks again for coming on. Cheers.
Thank you guys.
Ching
Thank
ching,
you very
man.
much for
Okay,
having me.
Yeah.
way to go, Korey.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Korey.
Corey.